Joining me in studio today is the only Democrat currently holding statewide office in Iowa and a 2026 gubernatorial candidate, Iowa State Auditor Rob Sand. Rob, great to see you.
Yeah, you too, Tommy.
We're in the same room physically. We can put to rest.
We are not the same person.
That we are the same person. I talked to you a few months back. I demanded that I get to be governor for a day. I know you've been thinking about it. We're going to get back to me on the constitutional elements, but
I think what we need is if we can get a commitment out of you to be my body double on the trail for a few days, so I can be in two places at once. We can probably make that work.
I'm there. I will be on the next flight to Des Moines.
Perfect.
All right. So there's some really big races in Iowa this year. There's a bunch of contested House races. There's a big Senate race. Democrats are holding a primary to see who's going to take on Joni Ernst. You're running for governor. I am biased towards being more hopeful about Iowa because of my experience there.
Right.
But you are, again, the only statewide elected Democrat. Listeners might know that at the presidential level, Iowa swung about 16 points to the right from 2012 to 2016.
Right.
So to everyone listening, all the doubters, all the haters, why should Democrats bet on Iowa this cycle?
I think there's a pretty simple piece of this. But honestly, the bottom line is there are many data points. There's all kinds of reasons to support the fact that this is a state that is ready for change. Here's a question for you, because I think the bottom line for this for a lot of people is we think oftentimes we're forced and pushed to think in terms of Democrats versus Republicans. There are many people in the state of Iowa and nationally, but I think particularly in the state of Iowa, that actually look at politics and they're like Democrats, Republicans, whatever. And instead they're asking, they're all the same. They're asking like, who's real? Who is willing to go against their party's orthodoxy? Who is willing to challenge the status quo? And those are people who supported Barack Obama twice, and then also supported Donald Trump 3 times. The Democratic nominee for president in all 3 of those election cycles against Donald Trump was someone who was not an outsider.
The consummate insider.
The consummate insider. Right.
Message,
all 3 times. Clinton, Biden, Harris. This is a state that has an idea for something bigger, and they want someone that they feel is a genuine leader on things. And when you look around, yes, we've seen those swings at the presidential level, but look deeper. We have had for 3 cycles in a row one of the closest congressional races, the closest congressional race in the country.
Yeah.
Last cycle for a pickup, the cycle before that for a defense for an incumbent Democrat. The cycle before that, closest congressional race in American history, 6 votes.
Wow.
I'm the only statewide elected Democrat, but that's because there were 2 other people that lost by 1 point. 1 in 2022. If they had won, our state level offices would be 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. And the national media could be saying like, oh, wow, Iowa's still so purple.
Liberal Iowa, right.
Yeah, right. Right down the middle. They vote for both parties. And because it's a 1 point difference, nobody talks about that.
Right. That's a good point. I want to talk about Howard County.
Yes.
Small, white, rural county. It's right on the Minnesota border.
Next door from my home county.
Swung 41 points.
41 points.
From Obama to Donald Trump. You grew up just east of Howard County in Decorah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been to Howard County many times for
basketball
games,
meets.
right? Yeah, cross-country meets. What was it about Trump's message in these small rural towns that made him so successful? I mean, 41 points. That's crazy.
I think one of the reasons that, but that 41 point swing wouldn't be possible unless also Barack Obama did really well.
That's a good point. Right.
And so the success of both of their messages was the idea that politics isn't serving ordinary people. And that's true. It's true. And there are a lot of voters are looking at that and they're saying, I want someone who's going to tell me the truth. I'm more focused on hearing that and be authentically who they are. Right. And both those guys, Obama and Trump, they are who they are. Right. There's no confusion about who they are.
Right.
And so I think when you look at Howard County, and this is a great example of this. So I did 100 public town halls this year.
Why'd you do 100 town halls with 99 counties? That's going to confuse the shit out of everybody.
Lee County down in southeast Iowa has 2 county seats.
Okay.
And so I do 100.
What happened there? Is like a Vichy County seat? What are they doing?
There was this dispute right after Iowa became a state.
Okay.
And 2 years afterward, the state law was like, you will have 2 county seats. Quit fighting. You can both be a county seat. Just like the mom and dad being like, look, kids, you each get half.
You each get a toy.
Right. Yes. There you go. So I do 100 because a lot of elected officials in Iowa do 99, and I'm competitive.
Sure.
So that way I'm the hardest working elected official in the state of Iowa, right? But I also I think this is the heart of democracy. Like, you shouldn't want to be in politics unless you are literally willing to go talk to anyone.
Yeah.
So every year as state auditor, I've done 100. We did 100 this year. And to go back to your point about Howard County, spent the night in Cresco, the county seat, woke up that morning, went on a run, and was getting breakfast at a diner with my mom because she's over, right? We're next door from home. And there's a guy in there who's an older gentleman. And as we're on the way out, I say, hey, Rob Sand doing a town hall. Come on over. Like, you're welcome there. I want you to be there. We announced all 100 the same day, by the way, like in June. And so no matter where you were in Iowa, like, we were like a rock band going out on tour. Like, we are coming. Get ready.
Like it or not.
We want you to show up.
I'm going to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like, poof, he was here? When?
Right.
How? We want people to show up.
Yeah.
So I invite this guy, and he comes. And the reporter for the Des Moines Register, Brianne Fanisteel's on the road with us, and it turns out that she talked to him afterwards. And to this point of like sort of not really a Democrat or Republican, this guy didn't want to share what his political views were, but he said something to the effect of, I'm glad I had a chance to actually hear from Sand, and who I vote for might come down to who's actually here for me to see, which will not sound strange to someone who worked on Barack
Obama's
Obama's
thing
yes,
I've ever heard.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so we're literally, and Tommy, when we do these, so we did this 100 times across the state. We start out by acknowledging the obvious. Our political system is broken. It works better to reelect the people who are in power than to solve the problems of the people it's supposed to serve. And I don't think that either party fundamentally is doing a good enough job of solving our problems to have special legal privileges over our choices on the ballot. But if we're going to change our political system, we have to change our political culture. We have to work together. And so if you're a Republican here today, I want to applaud you. Raise your hand. We clap for all the Republicans who are present. If you're an independent here today, I want to applaud you. We applaud the independents. We clap for the Democrats. And then I say, I want to take 1 minute to prove to all the people who want us to hate each other that we can work together. Let's sing the first verse of America the Beautiful.
Okay.
And we do it.
How's your voice?
I do not lead.
Okay.
On purpose. This is not a comment on my singing.
You don't have a tuning fork?
This is not a comment on my singing.
Okay.
The point is to have everyone do it.
Yeah.
Right? So my microphone is at my waist. Mm-hmm. I'm just another person. I say, someone else kick us off. And we're in small town Iowa. Usually everybody turns around and is like, Maud?
Yeah.
Like they all know who sings.
Choir
because they
leader
see
church.
Yeah, exactly. But we have this moment where we've already acknowledged that we disagree. We have already acknowledged that we are on opposite sides of this chasm. And yet we are taking a moment to acknowledge those differences and say, let's do something together. By the time you get past that, usually there's someone in the room, you can tell just like felt a thing, mm-hmm. right? And people are just ready to have a different conversation than you can have before. And to me, that is what we need right now. And I think a lot of the people that are coming out for these events, 100 of them. We had over 10,000 people attend, averaged 30% not Democrats the year before the election. And 30% of the people in the room are independents and Republicans.
Interesting.
And again, like here's the message, right? Not bluer or redder, but truer and better. Like our political system is broken. Two choices is not realistic. It functions better to control us than it does to get our problems resolved. And people, I think they are ready for that message. They recognize it as being true. And I think they see it as a route forward from where we are.
Yeah, no, look, I've been hearing that I would recommend to anyone running to run against the system right now. I was talking to the head of Swing Left the other day. So the number one thing they are hearing on the doors is not cost of living. It's anger at the establishment, the system, and all the ways it's broken. But I do think that talking to you is so interesting to me because, we talk to a lot of Democrats here who are taking a more aggressive approach in the Trump era, right? Like there was this big New York Times story the other day about a group of senators who call themselves Fight Club. They are frustrated with Chuck Schumer and how he's running things. Now, look, I know like fight versus don't fight Trump is like kind of stupid and reductive. But if you were governor, you might have to figure out how to deal with, say, a National Guard deployment or really aggressive ICE raids in your communities. or God knows what else by then. How are you thinking about, those confrontations potentially?
I think the same way I've kind of thought about everything. I mean, my background is not partisan warrior. State auditor for 2 terms. Like, just, this is where the money went.
Is there a Republican calculator?
No. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. That's better. The line that we like is money isn't blue or red, it's green, right? And we like to talk a lot about the old in God we trust, all others we audit, right? But it's not a partisan thing. You're really thinking about, like, what's the truth?
Yeah.
Prior to that, I spent 7 years as the chief public corruption prosecutor, right? Everybody, quick, buy my book. I uncovered the largest lottery rigging scheme in American history.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We won't get too far into it. I should say, though, also, I want my finance people to be happy. robsand.com, everybody. Please chip in.
Donate, volunteer.
Yeah. But here's the answer, right? Like, what I have spent my career doing has been on focusing on figuring out what the truth is and then doing the right thing. It hasn't been about, like, oh, this person is good or bad because they're wearing this or that color hat. Whether it's a Democratic or a Republican president, I am going to do what I think is the right thing to do to protect public safety in Iowa and also to follow the Constitution. That's the bottom line to me. An interesting story about this. We got a public records request in the auditor's office, and it asked for all allegations of wrongdoing by Republican Governor Kim Reynolds. Right?
It's pretty sweeping.
Pretty sweeping. Came from the DNC. Under Iowa law, it seemed pretty clear to us that we can't just go hand out allegations. We think they're confidential under Iowa law. Don't think it's a complicated question. So we sent them, no, we can't give that to you. They sent the same records request a second time.
Just unedited? Just the same thing?
Yeah, like, I think, like, to me, it's like they're wondering, did you miss the letterhead? We're the DNC.
Right.
I gave them the same answer. Like, I'm not here to do what you want. I'm here to do the right thing. I'm not going to go along with anything that any president says just because they are the president. They are people. They are fallible. And I don't think that, look, I think that right now we should be focused on making sure that our economy is working. We should be focused on making sure that people who are in this country are not a threat to public safety. But if they're not a threat to public safety, if they're doing a job and they're paying their taxes and they don't have a criminal record, yes, I think that makes sense that if they came here illegal, there would be some level of consequence for that. But if they're a part of our communities, you can have a consequence without being evicted from our community.
Right. Yeah. Another area where I would imagine you diverge from some in the Democratic Party is on the question of redistricting. Gavin Newsom is led this major fight to redistrict California. It was in response to Trump demanding that Texas basically rig their maps halfway through the decade to get 5 more seats. Like, my views on this are, like, I hate gerrymandering because I think it kind of gets us to where we are today, where you have a vast majority of districts where the elected members on both sides are more worried about a primary than a general election. Yeah. So there's less incentive to be reasonable. But I also think we can't kind of sit idly when Republicans are trying to rig the 2026 midterms. But I get the sense that you are not the biggest fan of partisan redistricting. Is that fair?
Iowa was the first state to prevent this problem. We put the country's first independent redistricting commission into place. And so in Iowa, like, you don't have gerrymandering. You can't do it. The Iowa standard is still the best standard. In fact, when this came up in Wisconsin a few years ago, some folks up there that knew me said, like, hey, the speaker up here, the Republican, is trying to say, oh, we're going to do the Iowa model. Is this really the Iowa model? I was like, no. And I got a former Republican Iowa GOP chair to write a letter with me to basically, like, the state of Wisconsin being like, we see what you're trying to do here. This is what we do in Iowa. This is why it's different. And this is why you can't say that's the Iowa model, to try to protect truly the idea of independence and that brand of Iowa being, like, nonpartisan. To me, this whole redistricting, gerrymandering battle is exactly what I'm talking about when I go to the idea that these 2 private clubs shouldn't have special legal privileges over our access and our choices on the ballot, right? This is what we get to. We have people who are being paid with tax dollars, putting hours and hours and hours into efforts to solidify one private club's control over the lawmaking capacity of different states. Now, I appreciate the responsiveness to it, but the answer to me isn't just like, an eye for an eye. The answer is we need to break down this entire system so that we have a system based on serving people rather than a system based on serving politicians.
Yeah. Look, I'm there. If we could do a national sort of independent redistricting process, I'm all for it. It's just a long way from here to there.
Right.
So I interviewed you around your announcement. We talked about the sort of budding Trump trade war. It kicked off in earnest. Trump slapped tariffs on most of the world, including the Chinese. A lot of the world kind of ducked and covered. The Chinese punched back really hard, including by basically boycotting the purchase of U.S. soybeans. Last month, Trump claimed that he'd cut a deal with the Chinese and that they would resume soybean purchases from the U.S. Iowa is, top 2 biggest soybean producing states in the country. I think it's you and Illinois, right?
Number 1.
You beat Illinois?
Come on.
You got to talk to ChatGPT. She told me. She told me you guys were number 2.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
How has the kind of like last few months of this trade war impacted Iowa farmers, the Iowa economy, and is China living up to the terms of the deal Trump announced?
Well, that's exactly your phrasing of that was precise, right? That's the terms of the deal that the Trump administration announced. China has never affirmed. Yes, they have never said we are going to buy 12 million metric tons. They have bought 300,000. Allegedly, they were going to buy 12 million by the end of the calendar year.
It feels tough to do.
Those numbers are very different. Those numbers are very, very different, right? And I think there's a reason that China hasn't said, we're going to do this. And this is just, to me, this is exactly one of those things that I think is the line that you can see between people who are trying to serve a party master and people who are trying to serve the public, right? You got 4 members of Congress, 2 U.S. senators in the state of Iowa. All 4 members of Congress are just whatever the president says, I'm with him. Ushering in a new golden age. Okay, you got it. Meanwhile, farmers in the state of Iowa, right, have no markets to sell their crops to internationally. We're bailing out Argentinian farmers and Argentinian cattlemen, beef growers, while people in Iowa are sitting there with no market. And all of these Republican elected officials who know how this system works, who are well informed on this, who see how bad this is for Iowa, won't say it. The only one that's even coming close is Chuck Grassley. I think his attitude on this is YOLO, and he's mostly lived, so he's going for it, right?
He's getting to the end of that 4-letter word.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, he's at least saying, I don't think tariffs are going to work. If they do, I'll be the first one to say hallelujah. I'm with him on that. But this is bad for the state of Iowa. And I think most people in the state of Iowa, they want someone who will work with any president to do good and work with no president to do something bad. They will try to avoid bad things happening. These folks are just saying, yes, boss, whatever you want.
Right. What do these farmers do? Like, what do you do with a million metric tons of soybeans?
It's a great question, because right now you're also having to make decisions about what you're going to plant next year. Where are you going from here?
If this Chinese market has gone away.
Yeah, and this chaos makes their life incredibly difficult, because I think most farmers and most people, right? Most people want to know what the rules of the road are and make their own decisions and sink or swim according to their own merit and according to their own decision making.
Yep.
I thought we were going to zig, we zagged, but at least you knew, there was that fork in the road and you were going to do one or the other.
Right.
This kind of chaos just makes decision making for anyone in agriculture right now incredibly complicated and difficult. Particularly because a lot of these people, they don't get to know if the tariffs are about to change in 2 days.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody knows when the tariffs are about to change in 2 days.
Yeah,
because they can place their bets.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's less of a bet.
Somebody named Donald Trump Jr. knows, and they can go on Polymarket or the stock exchange or whatever. Right. Another Iowa-specific question for you. So Iowa has the second highest cancer rate in the nation, and it's got one of the only rising cancer rates in the country.
Yeah.
That includes a lot of people, young people, who are getting cancer in their 30s.
Yeah.
I know that some experts point to alcohol consumption, high levels of radon potentially as being the cause. Radon, for those who don't know, is just a naturally occurring radioactive gas. Others suspect chemicals used in agriculture could be the culprit. And this is not just an Iowa problem. There's sort of like a Midwestern belt of states that are dealing with this. What do you think is happening? And what is like the governor of Iowa's responsibility or options to address the challenge?
Yeah. So bottom line answer is it's certainly all of the above are part of this. And I think the responsibility of the governor is to figure out what are our biggest causes and what can we do. What are the best and fastest and easiest ways to lower those incidents of cancer? And you're right, we are number 2 overall and the only one with an increasing rate. And this is something that I did, again, 100 public town halls. And I would get to this point in my stump where I would say we are 49th for economic growth. We are 48th for personal income growth. But what are we number 1 in for growing? And people would shout back at me, cancer. Like it just really hit people's imagination. And it hits people's lives close to home. And I always think about my friend Abby, who she's from Forest City. We met through my cousin a long time ago. And she was a childhood cancer survivor. And then she her cancer came back when we were maybe around 30 or something. And her attitude about it was so classically Iowan and also miraculous. She had to have her entire leg amputated at one point. And so for Halloween, she went as a shark attack victim.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The next year she was a carrot. And she was also a pediatric nurse and just, like taking care of kids and doing her best to balance everything that she was going through with trying to be employed and help kids at the same time. And then she passed away. But people who know her and people whose lives are touched by stories like that across the state of Iowa, when you hear that we are number 1 for that, it's alarming. And I met a couple in Almaquee County. So we talked about Howard. Next over to the east is Winneshiek, my county, and then next over to the east is Almaquee. And I met a couple in Lansing at my town hall. A young couple, I think probably younger than us, whose kid has cancer now.
Jesus.
And they said, we're working with people in the legislature to try to get some funding for research for pediatric cancers in the state of Iowa. I do think that's an obligation for the state government in Iowa. We should be funding research into why is this happening in Iowa. We absolutely should. Last year, the legislature and the governor agreed to put $1 million into it.
That doesn't seem like much.
That's not going to get you much.
Yeah.
No. What this couple taught me is that in Nebraska, they have done $23 million of research into pediatric cancer over the last few years. And as a proud Iowan, I demand that we beat Nebraska.
I know you do.
Yeah. We should be...
It's gotten easier recently.
Yes,
football.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
The Scott Frost era was not good for anybody over there.
Well, it was good for Hawkeyes.
Yeah, it was good for Hawkeyes.
But the table stake should be $25 million because we want to beat Nebraska. We're also sitting on a 5 or 6, depending on how you want to count it, $1 billion surplus. So we have money there. What are we doing?
Yeah, it seems like there's no better way to spend it than this kind of research. You've
it's
got a great hospital, the University of Iowa. I mean,
we do.
I don't want to make you I don't want you to rank your hospitals, but you got a bunch of good ones. I know that's hard.
The other thing of this that I think is we so often miss is this is good for everybody, right? Because you can be the person, my faith drives so much of what I believe and so much of what I choose. And to me, you can look at kids and you could say, we should heal the sick. We should want to help these people not be sick. You can also be the single most cold-hearted person in the state of Iowa and reach the same conclusion on a different route. Well, I guess if we prevent cancer, that costs fewer tax dollars than treating it later on.
Right,
so
of course.
Fine. We should all be able to agree to this. It's a simple thing that we can be doing, and right now the folks that are there aren't doing enough. What are they busy doing? Right? Like I said, 48th in economic growth, number 1 for cancer growth. But let's figure out how to gut the state auditor's office ability to find the tax dollars that we misspent. That's their priority. I always go back to the story in the New Testament of Jesus flipping tables because he saw people in a position of trust and power at the temple who were abusing that trust and power. That, to me, is exactly where we are in the state of Iowa right now. And we did, as we're going around and we're doing 100 town halls, you're hearing people left, right, and center who are just fed up. They've had enough. They understand that at this point, It's just insiders serving insiders and special interest groups. They're not focused on Iowans, and they're ready for change.
When you say Jesus flipping tables, I think of like a Buffalo Bills tailgate. That's more, I guess, more like
Jesus.
splitting tables, jumping off.
I really want to see Josh Allen get a Super Bowl ring.
I like Josh Allen a lot,
Yeah.
but I'm glad the Patriots are good. All right, so your work, you prosecuted this hot lotto fraud case. It's one of like the craziest public corruption stories in Iowa.
Yeah.
For listeners who don't know, can you just tell us what happened and why you have beef with hot lottery winners, which is how I understand it.
I won't dive in on the bait on that one. Great, amazing book that I wrote. Everyone should buy it. It's so good. It did actually win an award from the Washington Independent Review of Books.
Oh.
Which, because it has the word independent in it, makes an auditor be like, okay,
That's
legit.
nice. Yeah, absolutely.
They called it a favorite read of the year when it came out.
Okay.
It's called The Winning Ticket. I had nothing to do with a documentary called Jackpot, which you can stream for free at lottodoc.com.
Okay.
But that tells you the same story in 45 minutes if you're not the book reading type.
Okay.
Less detail. Bottom line, for 10 years, there was this guy working for the Multi-State Lottery Association in Urbandale, Iowa, that serves like 38 state and provincial lotteries in the United States and Canada. And he was, I don't want to spoil it, he was making it a little bit more predictable than it's supposed to be.
Fast forward this part if you want to buy the book.
Yeah.
You can tell us what happened. It's okay.
All right. Inside job. Like, it was his job to literally write the computer program that was supposed to pick random numbers. And he made them enough less than random that he could buy a bunch of tickets and kind of know what was going to win. Dude, the craziest part about this is, so he's a Texas, small town Texas boy.
And no one noticed he was like driving a Ferrari all of a sudden?
He had a really big house. People were like, did you have an uncle? Did he pass away? Was he rich? Like,
Right.
How are you doing this? People sort of had questions, but the craziest part about this, beyond the fact that he's rigging lottery jackpots around America, he's a small town Texas boy. His brother is a justice of the peace down there. His brother is a Bigfoot hunter. And
like the Sasquatch?
Sasquatch.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that seems like a tough gig.
it was a side gig.
You're not getting a lot of targets, right? You're not putting a lot of arrows on beef.
No, he that's why he was a justice of the peace for his day job, right? But he would help the guy in Des Moines, in Urbandale, buy these rigged jackpots, and then he would use his friends occasionally from the Bigfoot hunting community to help claim the jackpot tickets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I'm now imagining dudes in like Bigfoot outfits. Like, have you seen Harry and the Hendersons?
Yeah, of course.
Remember that movie from when we were kids?
Yeah.
Like him going to cash the ticket?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Not
How did you guys suss this out?
long story. We actually went to trial only knowing about the one Iowa ticket. And I remember this very clearly. We did jury selection. Day one, when we were starting to bring in evidence, there was a national news story being like, the defense has got a pretty powerful argument for reasonable doubt here. I don't know how you can convict this guy because you don't have the file. The computer that had been used for the Iowa jackpot draw had been wiped to Department of Defense standards. Like, there was no direct evidence at the time of like, oh, here's the file that he wrote. This is how he rigged it. So it was a circumstantial case. We won. As we're waiting for sentencing, after the guilty verdict, I get this phone call at my desk, and I recognize the area code as like the area that he's from in Texas. So I answer the phone, and this guy's like, "Can I talk to Rob Sand?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me. Did y'all know that Eddie's brother won the lottery maybe about 10 years ago or so, somewhere out west, maybe Colorado?" I was like, "No, thank you."
That is very helpful.
That is very helpful. We had been sort of waiting for a tip like that. Like, we knew it was there, but one of the interesting tactical decisions for the mastermind's legal defense was they chose to demand speedy trial. So we didn't have time to do this huge nationwide investigation.
Right.
We had to like indict and get ready for trial. And we were like, we bet there's something else out there, but right now we got to shoot the alligator closest to the boat.
Yeah.
Right? Let's get this guy convicted of this case here in Iowa. See what happens after that.
I'm imagining you and voir dire being like, I've got to strike that hairy guy. He's got some Bigfoot DNA.
He's not going to like these people.
He's not going to like this. All right. Well, last question. I mean, even if you win, the Republicans will probably have pretty strong majority of the legislature, right? How do you think you can work with them to get stuff done? Yeah. Has our zero-sum blood sport DC politics infected Iowa fully yet, or are you guys still able to talk?
So I'll say this. Number one, we are strong believers that we can win this race, right? The only poll that we have seen has us up by 2. We keep having people come out of the Republican Party power structure, elected officials and recent party chairs, like county party chairs, publicly endorsing me, even if they've never spoken to me in their life.
That's nice.
Yeah. Like when I tell you that Iowans are ready for change, I think we were talking about this earlier. 4 of the top 9 special election overperformances in America this year are the only 4 that we have had for special elections in Iowa. So we're right up at the top there. We can win this race. What's going to happen when we win? I think there's a lot of people in the legislature that want to do good. And I think they belong to both parties. And I will be happy to work with anybody. And this to me is, again, like this sort of is, I think, rooted in my faith. I love finding places of agreement and a sense of community where you expect to find none. One of the legislators that voted against the bill that got the auditor's office, that made it so they could hide misspent money from us, is a legislator who literally was at the United States Capitol on January 6, 2020 to stop the steal.
Oh.
Yeah. But she was someone that I called to tell her, hey, there's this bill coming. It's bad. It corrupts our government. It is an example of the swamp. And she read the bill. She asked me some very intelligent questions about it. And she said, okay, I'm going to vote against it.
That's great. People surprise you, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene, look what she's doing.
There you go. There you go. And so I just we can judge people's actions. We don't have to judge people. The best part of this story was when that legislator, Luana Stoltenberg, came back to me maybe the day or 2 before the vote. And she goes, hey, I just want to let you know, a lot of other people have approached me about this bill, and they've told me some things about it, made some arguments that I think make sense. And I'm really struggling and praying a lot about what the right thing to do is for how I vote on this bill. And I'm telling you this now because I want you to know that I'm struggling so that if I vote for it, you don't think that it was because I lied to you. Don't you want to be represented by people with that level of integrity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very decent response.
Yes. And so you can be someone who literally is there to stop the steal and yet also is calling me to put yourself out there and say, I'm not sure what the right thing to do is. I'm just working really hard at this. And I re-engaged with her. I said, thank you. Tell me what their questions are. I don't care who it was that you got it from. Just tell me the question. I'll give you my answer. And we did that, and she did end up voting against it. I'm telling this story to illustrate the point, right, that you made. People will surprise you if you let them. The more we are focused on putting each other into a box and saying, no, you're over there and I'm over here and we're going to have to fight, the worse we are doing for all the people that are struggling around this state with higher prices, right? With cancer. We're not solving problems if we're not willing to work together. But when we engage in good faith, when I look at someone like her and I assume, hey, they might be willing to do all kinds of things if we at least have a conversation and focus on getting to something good, a whole new world opens up in terms of what's possible to accomplish.
From January 6th to voting with you, I like it.
Yeah.
Maybe you take them hunting. Are you bow hunting guy?
Dude, I gotta show you the buck that I shot this year.
I can't kill a deer. They're too big. I'm a fishing guy.
I like fishing.
I've shot birds before. Clay pigeons, that's a good time.
I agree.
Maybe we do a little. That's our common ground.
You now have made me think of the buck that I shot this fall. I have to talk to you about this.
A lot of points. Big looking guy.
209-inch whitetail.
Yeah, we can,
Can you zoom in?
We can put it in post and make our audience vomit.
This thing, we'll do a clean picture. A 209-inch buck is like a once in a lifetime if you're having a lucky lifetime.
Okay.
I've been a bow hunter my entire life. This was in the city limits in Des Moines.
What?
Yes.
Like downtown?
I've been doing the urban bow hunting program.
Whoa, that's a big deer.
Yeah.
That's a lot. How many points on that thing?
14.
I knew that.
But 209 inches. So again, like that's off the charts.
What's a normal sized buck?
So a Pope and Young buck, which is big enough for the Pope and Young record books, typically would be 125 inches and up.
Okay.
I have taken like 8 of those, I want to say, as a hunter. A Boone and Crockett buck, which is like a booner, is a big deal. 170 inches. All right.
I'm like speaking a new language here.
Yes. You
like
never
it.
know what you're going to learn.
I'm learning a lot.
Right?
Look, my wife's father bow hunts and does all this stuff too.
Oh, all right. So they have these measurements, Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett, for pretty much every kind of animal. But, whitetail's what we got in Iowa. So 125 inches, and then 170 inches for that higher line. And shooting a booner at like 170 or up is a pretty big dedeal. Like 209 is just like...
That's a gooner. That's monster.
It's a gooner, yeah. Forget booner, yes.
I don't know, man. I'm just like, I really like fishing. You ever get out
Let's
there?
go fishing, yes. Yeah.
Little streams, little fly rod.
Northeast Iowa, Decorah, some of the best trout fishing in the Midwest.
Northeast Iowa is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Everyone should go visit. Also, you should visit robsand.com.
Robsand.com.
Figure out how to get involved with the campaign, maybe
Absolutely.
donate, maybe volunteer, maybe knock some doors.
Yes.
It's great to see you. Thank you for talking
you too.
about all this, and welcome to LA.
Thanks, man.
Hope the weather is nice, but not too nice. 'Cause I know you're more of you want that that Iowa gloom.
Cool weather.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun trip.
Yeah. That's our show for today. Thanks to Rob Sand for coming